Application to business. Those guys are horrible, said the production manager. He described a subsidiary company owned by their parent corporation on which his team depended to transport their product. They can't get their jobs completed on schedule, and that prevents us from doing our jobs. Clearly, there were major issues between his field leaders, the frontline troops of his team, and those of the subsidiary company. Jocko and I stood before the class of a dozen mid-level managers seated at tables forming a U-shape in a conference room of the company's corporate headquarters. In the second session of a 12-month leadership training program, our presentation and discussion centered on the laws of combat. We solicited from each of the class participants specific leadership challenges that they currently faced. Jocko and I set about to help them solve these challenges through the application of the SEAL combat leadership principles they had just learned. The production manager explained that his team struggled to minimize downtime in their production, the times when they had to cease making product. These disruptions occurred for a variety of reasons, but they stopped product from moving to market, and every hour and day of downtime cost the company huge revenues and substantially impacted the bottom line. With this crew just getting up and running, there had been a steep learning curve. The production manager's team maintained an average downtime that was much worse than the industry standard. Such a glaring discrepancy was a major detriment to the company's profits. As a result, the production manager was under scrutiny and intense pressure to reduce downtime. The subsidiary company on which his production team depended became the major scapegoat to blame. We spend a lot of our time waiting on them, the subsidiary company, and that causes big problems and delays for us, said the production manager. Those delays are impacting production and costing our company serious revenue. How can you help this subsidiary company? I asked the production manager. I can't, he replied. They don't work for me. We don't work for the same bosses. They are a different company. While he was right that they were a different company, both companies fell under the leadership of the same parent corporation. Besides, he added with indifference, they aren't my problem. I've got my own team to worry about. It sounds like they are your problem, I responded. In that sense, he agreed, I guess they are. What's worse, continued the production manager, now on a roll of bashing the subsidiary company, because corporate owns them, we're forced to use their services. What you just called the worst part should be the best part, Jocko responded. You're both owned by the same corporation, so you both have the same mission. And that is what this is about, the overall mission, the overall team. Not just your team, but the whole team, the entire corporation, all departments within your company, all subsidiary companies under the corporation, outside contractors, the whole enterprise. You must work together and support each other as one team. The enemy is out there, I said, pointing out the window to the world beyond. The enemy is all the other competing companies in your industry that are vying for your customers. The enemy is not in here, inside the walls of this corporation. The departments within and the subsidiary companies that all fall under the same leadership structure, you are all on the same team. You have to overcome the us versus them mentality and work together, mutually supporting one another. Just as I had on the battlefield in Ramadi years before, the production manager was now so focused on his own department and its immediate tasks that he couldn't see how his mission aligned with the rest of the corporation and supporting assets, all striving to accomplish the same strategic mission. As I had done after some constructive guidance from my chief, the production manager must now be willing to take a step back and see how his production team's mission fit into the overall plan. It's about the bigger strategic mission, I said. How can you help this subsidiary company do their job more effectively so they can help you accomplish your mission and you can all win? The production manager pondered this. He was still skeptical. Engage with them, directed Jocko. Build a personal relationship with them. Explain to them what you need from them and why, and ask them what you can do to help them get you what you need. Make them a part of your team, not an excuse for your team. Remember the stories Leif and I have told about relying on other units to support us? Those Army and Marine Corps units we worked with were not under our control. We had different bosses, but we depended on them and they depended on us. So we formed relationships with them and worked together to accomplish the overall mission of securing Ramadi. That's cover and move. You need to do the same thing here. Work together to win. The production manager was a driven leader who wanted his team to perform at the highest level. Now, he began to understand true teamwork. The proverbial light bulb went off in his head, and his attitude completely changed. If he wasn't working together with his subsidiary company, then he was failing his team. Over the next weeks and months, the production manager made every effort to positively engage with the subsidiary company, to communicate with them and establish a better working relationship. He came to more fully understand the myriad challenges that impacted their timelines and caused delays, and what he could do on his end to help mitigate those issues. It wasn't that they were horrible, as he had initially surmised. They were operating with limited resources and limited manpower. Once he accepted that they weren't out to sabotage his team, he realized that there were steps that he and his team could take to help the subsidiary company become more efficient and fill in the gaps that had caused their delays. Instead of working as two separate entities against each other, they began to work together. With this shift in mindset, the production manager's encouragement enabled his field leaders to see the subsidiary company employees in a different light. Not as adversaries, but as critical resources, part of the same greater team. Most important, the production team began to work with the subsidiary company's field team. Within a few months, the production team's field leaders encouraged key personnel from the subsidiary company to sit in on their coordination meetings. Very soon, the us versus them mentality had all but disappeared. They had broken through the silos and no longer worked against each other. The production team's downtime radically improved to industry-leading levels. They now work together as one team. Cover and move.